The dim glow of 3 mismatched monitors bathed the cramped bedroom in a sickly blue-green haze, the kind that screamed, "I haven't seen natural sunlight in 3 days." Empty ramen cups formed a precarious tower on the desk, leaning dangerously close to a half-eaten bag of cheese puffs that had long since gone stale. Posters of overpowered isekai protagonists and mecha waifus wallpapered every inch of wall space that wasn't already occupied by towering stacks of manga volumes and unopened figure boxes. A faint scent of energy drink and unwashed hoodie lingered like a personal cologne. McCoy Davidson, better known in certain corners of the internet as Null 000Z, slouched in his beaten-up gaming chair, ginger hair a wild explosion of bedhead that refused to be tamed by anything short of a nuclear event. His green eyes, sharp and mischievous behind smudged glasses, flicked across the central screen with predatory glee. 22 years old, 0 responsibilities, and currently the most hated player on the Feed the Beast Sky Factory 5 server he'd been terrorizing for the last 4 hours straight. "Another day, another beautiful migraine I'm about to gift the mods," he muttered, voice raspy from disuse and too much Mountain Dew. His fingers danced across the mechanical keyboard like a concert pianist on caffeine. The alias Null 000Z floated proudly above his in-game character, a glitchy, void-black skin with glowing 0 runes that he'd coded himself just to flex. Right now, that character was hovering invisibly inside the main spawn hub, packet spoofing like a ghost in the machine. He'd already done the classics, duplicated enough creative tier items to crash 3 economy plugins, rerouted every player's death messages to spam the chat with increasingly unhinged copy-pasters, and quietly replaced the server's MTD with a looping ASCII art of a certain blue hedgehog doing unspeakable things to the server owners. But Kai wasn't done. Oh no. He was just getting warmed up. With a wicked grin, he cracked his knuckles and fired up his custom hack suite, something he'd stitched together from 3 different open source repos and a whole lot of "don't ask how I got the source code." A new window popped open. Null 000Z Payload Manager v69.42. He selected the juicy one he'd been saving. Time to make the mods question their life choices, he chuckled, hitting execute. In-game, the sky suddenly turned blood red. Every single automated farm on the server began vomiting out corrupted, rainbow-colored essence orbs that exploded into fireworks, spelling out, "Null was here," in 50-foot letters. The global chat exploded instantly. XX Dragon Slayer 6969XX. WTF is happening? Mod_Ember. Null, you absolute gremlin. Mod Ember, I know this is you. Null 00000. Who, me? I'm just a humble player enjoying the modded experience. Ooh woo. Kai cackled, leaning back so hard the chair creaked in protest. His green eyes sparkled with pure, unfiltered chaos gremlin energy. On the secondary monitor, the mod Discord he'd somehow infiltrated was lighting up like a Christmas tree on fire. Someone had already typed, "Is this guy even real, or did Satan install the server himself?" He was about to queue up the next payload, something involving turning every player's tamed pets into eldritch horrors, when his phone buzzed once on the desk. A single notification. Probably nothing. Probably just another bill he was going to ignore. But something about the timing felt off. Like the universe itself had decided that today, of all days, the NEET otaku life was about to get a plot twist he hadn't coded for. Kai's fingers hovered over the keyboard. He glanced at the notification, then back at the glorious digital mayhem he'd unleashed. One more payload, or... Nah. He was feeling generous. He reached for the phone. The phone buzzed again, louder this time, vibrating across the desk like it had a personal grudge. Kai's hand froze mid-reach, green eyes narrowing behind the smudged lenses. The caller ID lit up in big, cheerful letters. "Mom, don't ignore me." He let out a dramatic groan that could have powered a small wind turbine. Ugh, perfect timing, universe. Right when I was about to turn the server into a glittery apocalypse. He swiped to answer, slouching deeper into the chair and forcing his voice into that practiced, everything's chill, Mom tone he'd perfected over the last 2 years. Hey, Ma. What's up? I'm just, wrapping up a group project for uni. Yeah, super productive day. On the other end of the line, the voice that answered was equal parts warm Yorkshire sunshine and steel-reinforced worry. The kind only a mom who'd raised a ginger chaos goblin could muster. McCoy Davidson, don't you super productive day me, lad. I've not heard from you in 4 days. 4! Your dad reckons you've either become a hermit or been kidnapped by those anime people you keep drawing on the fridge. Which is it? Kai snorted, spinning slowly in the chair while his other hand idly tabbed over to the FTB server logs. The mods were still losing their minds in chat. Beautiful. Nah, not kidnapped, just buried in lectures and labs. You know how it is with the computing science course. Algorithms, data structures, all that nerd stuff. I'm acing it, promise. Top of the class even. He was lying through his teeth, of course. He'd quietly dropped out 6 months ago. Emailed the uni, forged a couple of I'm taking a gap year for mental health forms, and let the student loan people keep thinking he was still enrolled. As far as his family knew, McCoy Davidson was the diligent, if slightly eccentric, second year at the University of Sheffield, living the dream in his tiny off-campus flat. In reality, he was a full-time professional gremlin with a trust fund allowance from Gran that covered rent and ramen, and zero intention of ever touching another lecture hall. His mom sighed, the sound crackling through the speaker like static from another dimension. Well, that's good to hear, love. Your dad's been bragging to the lads at the pub again. Our Kai's gonna be the next big tech wizard. Just come round for Sunday dinner this weekend. I made extra Yorkshire puddings and that spicy ramen you pretend you don't love. And bring your laundry. It smells like a server room exploded in there last time. Kai grinned despite himself, a flicker of actual fondness cutting through the neat armor. Family relations in the Davidson household had always been this weird mix. Mom, the eternal worrier who still called him her little fireball, thanks to the ginger hair. Dad, the proud but clueless ex-mechanic who thought hacking meant fixing the Wi-Fi. And Kai, the secret dropout who loved them both, but couldn't stand the thought of explaining why he'd rather troll-modded Minecraft servers than chase a degree. They meant well. They just didn't get the vibe. Yeah, I'll swing by. Love you, Ma. Tell Dad not to burn the house down trying to grill again. He hung up before she could launch into the full, when are you getting a proper girlfriend, and not just those 2D ones, speech, tossing the phone back onto the desk with a satisfied clatter. The server chaos was still unfolding gloriously on screen. Mission accomplished on the family front. Crisis averted, illusion maintained. But outside, 2 floors down in the damp alley behind the rundown block of flats, something else was watching. A figure in a plain black hoodie leaned casually against the overflowing bins, hood pulled low, earpiece glinting faintly under the flickering street light. Agent Reyes, codename Echo 7, kept her posture slouched like just another local smoker, but her eyes, sharp, cybernetic enhanced, never left the faint blue glow leaking from Kai's 3rd-floor window. A small drone the size of a moth hovered silently near the glass, feeding live audio of the phone call straight into her implant. Target confirmed, still in residence, she murmured into the comms, voice low and clipped. Family contact, mother, standard check-in, subject maintaining university cover story, no deviation, Null 000Z, activity level, high. Server disruption metrics off the charts again. A pause as she scanned the hacked feed from his monitors. Payload deployment in progress. Kids good. Too good. Director's gonna want an extraction window soon if the anomaly readings keep spiking like this. She flicked a cigarette butt into the gutter, unlit, just for show, and melted back into the shadows as a delivery scooter buzzed past. Whatever the hell the higher-ups suspected about McCoy Davidson, it wasn't just some random otaku with god-tier hacking skills. The file on him had classified anomaly stamped in red across every page, and tonight, like every other night for the past 3 weeks, they were keeping tabs. Inside, completely oblivious, Kai cracked open a fresh can of Monster, green eyes lighting up as he queued the next server-destroying payload. Round 2, mods. Let's make it legendary. The blue glow from the monitors pulsed like a heartbeat as Kai leaned back, cracking open that fresh Monster with a satisfying psss. The FTB server was still a glorious dumpster fire, chat scrolling at light speed, mods spamming at everyone in their private Discord like it was the end times. He grinned, green eyes catching the reflection of his own ginger chaos mop in the dark screen. Legendary. Absolutely legendary. But the real money printer? That was humming away on the third monitor. Null 000Z live was running in the background. His VTuber persona, a glitchy void black avatar with glowing 0 runes, and a voice modulator that turned his Yorkshire rasp into this deep, smug, otherworldly troll god vibe. No face cam, ever. Just pure hype, edited clips of his server raids, and live educational segments on how to make admins cry in modded Minecraft. The stream had been VOD only for the last hour. He'd queued the chaos and stepped away, but the donations were still rolling in like a slot machine on fire. Ding. Supertroll 420 donated £500. Null, you mad lad. The Rainbow Essence explosions are sending me. Ding. Waifu Destroyer 69 donated £200. VoiceMod hits different when you roast the devs live. Subbed for another month, King Kai chuckled under his breath, fingers tapping out a quick thank you emote on the overlay. The VTuber hustle had been his best secret side gig yet. Started as a joke 6 months after he ghost dropped uni, now pulling in enough ad revenue, bits, and fan subs to keep the ramen tower stocked and the rent paid without touching Grand's trust fund too hard. IRL, total ghost. No friends knocking on the door, no uni mates asking why he hadn't shown up to labs in half a year. But online, he was a digital emperor, isolated in the flat, filthy rich in the cloud, perfect balance. He tabbed over to the family group chat real quick. Mom had already sent 3 heart emojis and reminder about Sunday dinner. He fired back a thumbs up and a meme of a cat in a graduation cap. Cover story still airtight. Dad still thought he was the next Elon. Life was good. Outside, in the piss-wet alley behind the flats, Agent Reyes's earpiece crackled to life mid-drag on her fake cigarette. The call ID blinked across her retinal UHD. Director Tetsuo, JPHQ secure line. She answered before the second ring, voice low and laced with pure exhaustion. Why did you send me here to watch over this kid, boss? I'm standing in cat piss monitoring a ginger NEET who just spent 4 hours turning a Minecraft server into performance art. I could be in Berlin chasing actual cultists right now. The line stayed silent for half a beat. Classic Tetsuo power move. Then the voice came through, cold, practical, and edged with that precise Tokyo-polished English that somehow made threats sound like weather reports. Agent Reyes, do not make me remind you of your ledger. What you need to understand is that the Eidolon Protocol Bureau has a zero-tolerance philosophy for multiverse anomalies or any other reality stability threatening phenomena. Mr. Kai is quickly becoming one of them. That is all you need to know. Reyes pinched the bridge of her nose, the cybernetic implant behind her ear humming as it fed her live drone footage of Kai laughing at another donation ping. With respect, Director, the kid's just a basement gremlin with god-tier packet manipulation. His anomaly readings are probably just him rage coding at 3 a.m. again. Ledger or not, I've pulled worse babysitting gigs than this. Tetsuo didn't laugh. He never did. The Bureau does not deploy Echo 7 assets for basement gremlins. his digital footprints are fracturing probability thresholds in ways the analysts have never seen outside Class Omega events. The VTuber mask, the voice modulation, it is not simply content creation. The resonance is leaking. Keep eyes on him. If the readings spike again, we move to containment protocol. Dismissed. The line clicked dead. Reyes exhaled a long, frustrated breath that fogged in the damp night air. Eidolon Protocol Bureau, international shadow puppet masters that quietly handled the impossible events no one could explain, the glitches that bled between worlds, the phenomena that could unravel the rules everyone else took for granted. She'd seen enough to know when the director used that tone. McCoy Davidson wasn't just some troll anymore. He was a walking glitch in the simulation, and she was the poor sod stuck on babysitting duty until the higher-ups decided whether to recruit him or erase him. Back upstairs, Kai stretched, cracked his neck, and queued up the next stream segment. Time to go live, hype the chaos, and watch the donations flood in while the real world stayed blissfully unaware. Little did he know, the universe had just put him on a very different kind of watch list. The chat was absolute pandemonium. Null 000Z's VTuber avatar, that glitchy void silhouette with glowing zero rune eyes, leaned forward on the overlay like a digital demon about to drop the mic. Kai had been live for another solid hour, voice modulator cranked to maximum smug troll energy, packet sniping the FTB server in real time while narrating every chaotic detail like a pro wrestling commentator on bath salts. Donations were raining harder than the rainbow essence explosions he'd coded into the skybox. The mods had already rage quit twice, and the server owner was threatening to pull the plug entirely. Kai, as Null, cackled through the modulator, the sound layered with digital distortion that made it feel like it was crawling straight out of the viewer's headphones. And this may be the 50th time they permabanned me. He let the pause hang, dramatic as a final boss monologue, Avatar tilting its head with exaggerated menace. Except they have no idea how I keep coming back with the same account. I'm No! The chat detonated. Supertroll 420, LMAOO Null. You legend. Void waifu simp. 50th ban and still unkillable king. XX Dragonslayer 69XX. Mods in shambles row now. With a theatrical wink from the black and glowing avatar, one glowing rune eye flashing bright green for half a second, Kai hit the sign-off button. Like, comment, and subscribe for those that weren't here to experience the live show. And remember, Null is watching. The screen faded to his signature static and glitch outro, chat still flooding with hearts, fire emojis, and take my energy copypastas. Stream ended. Revenue counter ticked up another fat stack in the background. Kai exhaled, yanking the headset off and letting it clatter onto the desk. The ginger mess of his hair stuck up at weird angles from hours of chair spinning. Green eyes heavy, shoulders aching in that good I just owned the internet kind of way. All right, universe, you win this round. Quick power nap before I accidentally start another server war. He didn't even bother standing up properly, just rolled out of the gaming chair, kicked off his socks, and face-planted straight onto the unmade bed that doubled as a laundry mountain. Hoodie still on, half a packet of cheese puffs crunching under his elbow. Within 30 seconds, the soft snores of a satisfied chaos gremlin filled the room. Monitors still glowing faintly in standby mode, like sleepy digital watchdogs. Down in the alley, Agent Reyes leaned against the same damp bin, earpiece humming as the live stream feed cut out. She rubbed her temple, the cybernetic implant feeding her the last residual data packets Kai had left floating in the ether. She watched the drone feed of Kai's window go dark as the lights inside dimmed. The kid was out cold, completely unaware that his little troll session had just spiked the anomaly meters again. Reyes sighed. Boss is gonna love this latest spike. Zero tolerance my ass. This ginger gremlin is turning into a walking Class Omega headache. Upstairs, Kai mumbled something about Yorkshire puddings and server crashes in his sleep, completely oblivious to the invisible net slowly tightening around his perfectly ordinary, and yet very not ordinary NEET life. The room was a cocoon of pure, unfiltered NEET paradise, thick with the warm, slightly sour scent of stale energy drinks, cheese puff dust, and the faint ozone tang of overworked PC fans still humming on standby. McCoy Davidson lay sprawled face down across his unmade bed like a ginger-haired starfish that had given up on life, one arm dangling off the edge, fingers twitching faintly as if still typing phantom payloads. His cheek pressed into a crumpled pile of hoodies and yesterday's socks, a thin silver thread of drool glistening from the corner of his mouth and soaking into the pillowcase that had seen better decades. Soft, contented snores rumbled out of him, deep, rhythmic, the kind that came only after a solid 6-hour troll marathon and a fat stack of donation pings. Green eyes hidden behind closed lids, ginger hair a wild halo of static-charged chaos. He was out cold, blissfully dreaming of server crashes and infinite creative mode. Then, without warning, the 3 monitors on his desk flickered to life in perfect unison. Not the usual boot-up blaze of RGB glory, just a dim, eerie blue-green glow that pulsed like a dying heartbeat. Across all 3 screens, the same stark white text materialized in crisp, blocky font, the kind that screamed old-school terminal, Null 000Z initiating. The ellipses blinked slowly, methodically, like a machine taking a deliberate breath. On, off, on, off. The only light in the otherwise darkened flat, casting long, shifting shadows across the ramen cup towers and manga stacks. Kai didn't stir, not even a twitch. His snores continued, uninterrupted, drool still pooling lazily. And then the sound cut through the quiet like a glitch in reality itself. Plop. A single, unmistakable Minecraft dirt block placement noise, crisp, digital, echoing with that perfect low-fidelity thud straight out of the game. In the middle of the floor, right between the bed and the PC desk, a perfect 1 cubic meter block of rich, brown Minecraft dirt materialized out of thin air. No flash of light, no dramatic portal, just there, solid, textured with those familiar pixelated clumps of earth and tiny stone flecks, sitting heavy on the carpet like it had always belonged. The air around it shimmered faintly, as if the flat's walls were suddenly struggling to decide what was real. Kai mumbled into his pillow, voice thick and sleepy, words slurred with dream haze. Yeah. Building the ultimate dirt castle. Gotta stack 'em high. Mods'll never reach the top. Plop, plop, plop. More blocks appeared in rapid succession, clicking into place with that same addictive game sound, stacking upward in neat, impossible layers. A wall began forming along one side of the bed, dirt bricks rising like a fortress battlement, complete with the subtle grassy top texture on the uppermost layer. The room's temperature dipped just a fraction, the air growing heavier, earthier, as if the flat itself was inhaling the scent of a freshly tilled field. A stray block even phased gently through the edge of his laundry mountain, nudging a sock aside without disturbing his sleep. Shiny brown texture hack. Make it unbreakable. Glowy bits on the edges. Yeah, that'll troll 'em good. Kai murmured again, lips barely moving, a lazy smile tugging at the drool-slick corner of his mouth. He shifted slightly, rolling onto his side, completely oblivious. His subconscious was painting the masterpiece, and the world was listening, manifesting every idle, half-formed thought into solid, cubic reality. The dirt castle kept growing, blocks snapping together in perfect alignment, curving around his bed like a protective throne room. A tiny torch of glowing redstone dust flickered into existence on one parapet, casting warm orange light that danced across his ginger hair. The monitors kept blinking their cryptic message, the ellipses pulsing faster now, as if approving the build. The entire flat was waking up to his dreams. Posters on the walls rippled like loading textures. A half-empty Monster can on the desk slowly pixelated at the edges, its aluminum surface flickering between solid and blocky. The air hummed with faint, layered Minecraft ambient noise, distant cave drips, soft wind, the occasional moo of a phantom cow that definitely wasn't in the building. Outside, 2 floors down in the damp, piss-scented alley, Agent Reyes froze mid-step. Her retinal HUD exploded with warnings. Red graphs spiked straight through every parameter line she'd ever been trained on. Probability fractures, reality stability indices, multiversal resonance meters all screaming into the crimson. The drone feed from Kai's window went haywire, the image fracturing into digital blocks before snapping back, then fracturing again. "What the?" she breathed, cybernetic eyes widening as she stared up at the 3rd-floor flat. The building itself was glitching. Literally glitching. The bricks on the exterior wall pixelated in patches, shifting between solid mortar and that same rich Minecraft dirt texture. Windows flickered with faint blue-green light from inside, the glass warping like bad rendering. A faint plop-plop-plop sound leaked out into the night air, carried on the wind like some impossible echo from another dimension. The whole structure seemed to breathe, expanding and contracting in time with the dirt block sounds, while faint orange torchlight danced behind the curtains. Reyes gasped, a sharp, involuntary sound that cut through the quiet alley like a blade. Her hand flew to her earpiece, the other yanking a compact recorder from her hoodie pocket and thumbing it on with shaking fingers. She'd seen anomalies before, weird ones, classified ones. But nothing like this. Not a full-scale manifestation bleeding into baseline reality from a sleeping ginger NEET who was probably dreaming about server hacks. "Director, Echo 7 reporting. Priority override." Her voice cracked with urgency as the secure line clicked open. The feed from her implants streamed live, the glitching flat, the dirt blocks stacking visibly through the window gaps, Kai's oblivious snores mixed with his sleepy mumbles about ultimate dirt castles and shiny brown hacks. The kid's flat it's breaking. Full visual manifestation. Anomaly spike is off every chart. Reality's rewriting itself in there. Dirt blocks, game assets, actual physical materialization. He's asleep, and it's still happening. Sending full recording now. Look at this feed. It's not possible. She cut herself off, pressing her back to the bin as another wave of glitches rippled across the building's facade, a stray dirt block phasing briefly into existence on the fire escape before vanishing again. Her heart hammered against her ribs. Whatever the shadowy international outfit that ran these operations had suspected about McCoy Davidson, it was happening right now. Zero tolerance for this kind of reality-threatening phenomena, and it was unfolding in real time in a shitty Yorkshire flat. Inside, Kai let out one last peaceful snore, drool still glistening, completely unaware that his little power nap had just torn a hole straight through the fabric of everything. The flat had become a battlefield, where 2 realities were locked in a slow, surreal cage match, and the referee had long since tapped out. McCoy Davidson remained dead to the world on his bed, ginger hair splayed across the growing dirt parapet, like a victorious flag planted by a very lazy conqueror. A fresh string of drool connected his slightly parted lips to the hoodie pillow mashup, and his snores had taken on a dreamy, almost musical quality, little hums and chuckles as his subconscious kept right on building. He had no idea he'd become the unwitting architect of a glitch that was punching straight through the skin of existence itself. Somewhere in the digital ether, the real Null, the creepypasta ghost in the machine, the glitchy void persona he poured every late-night hack and troll into, had decided to play God. Not with code this time, with the actual fabric of everything. Like a master artisan testing the limits of a canvas, Null was experimenting on Kai's idle dream decisions, turning idle Minecraft whims into real-world stress tests. How much can reality take before it snaps? The void seemed to whisper through every plop. And reality? It was starting to lose. The dirt castle had evolved. Those once pixelated blocks no longer wore their cute cubic video game skins. They had glitched, melted, and reformed into honest-to-God matter. Rich, fertile topsoil the color of dark chocolate after rain, heavy and loamy and smelling overwhelmingly of a forgotten country cellar, damp earth, old potatoes sprouting white roots in the dark, and a faint undercurrent of something almost philosophical, like the collective regrets of every abandoned garden shed and every life choice that led a ginger NEET to this exact moment. One block at the base of the bed had cracked open along its perfectly square edge, and a fat, glistening earthworm wriggled its way free, pink and confused. It paused at the rim, tiny segments contracting in cartoonish panic as an imaginary exclamation mark, glitchy white text straight out of the game, popped above its head for half a second. Then, with a comical yoink, the worm yanked itself back into the dirt like it had just remembered it had an important meeting inside the block. The redstone torch on the parapet had done the same. No longer a glowing pixel sprite, it was now a comically blocky rectangle of real wood plank, rough pine grain visible under a thin coat of black dye, topped with a stubby matchstick-thick shard of crimson-orange crystal that pulsed with genuine, warm light. It gave off actual heat, the kind that made the air above it shimmer and filled the room with the faint metallic scent of energized minerals. The torch's light danced across the walls, highlighting the next wave of the glitch. Outside, the battle had spilled into the street. The alley's cracked asphalt began to plop, plop, plop in rapid succession, each sound louder than the last, like invisible hands were speedrunning a replacement mod. Sections of the road buckled and reformed into perfect 1-meter cubes of black-dyed cement, exactly the Minecraft variety, complete with the subtle speckled texture of compressed gravel and coal dust, but now fully real, heavy, cold, and unyielding. Cars parked along the curb suddenly sat at odd angles, their tires sinking slightly into the new cubic surface with soft crunching noises. Streetlights flickered, their metal poles briefly stretching into blocky pillars before snapping back. And then came the moo. A full-grown Holstein cow, black and white, utterly bewildered and still chewing a mouthful of imaginary grass, materialized with a wet pop directly behind Agent Ray's. She had been mid-sentence on the secure line, voice rising in pitch as she tried to describe the building-wide glitch to Director Tetsuo, when the warm, grassy breath hit the back of her neck. Moo? Reyes squealed, actually squealed, a high-pitched noise that would have gotten her laughed out of any field-op briefing, and spun so fast she nearly dropped the recorder. The cow blinked massive liquid eyes at her, tail swishing lazily, completely unbothered by the fact that it had just spawned into an alley in Wath-upon-Dearn like some kind of extra-dimensional delivery. It lowered its head and gave the new black cement pavement an experimental lick, then mooed again, louder, as if filing a formal complaint with management. Director, there's a fucking cow. Reyes barked into the comms, backing away while keeping the device trained on both the glitching flat and her new bovine companion. Not a hologram, real. It just appeared. The roads turning into Minecraft blocks, actual cement, not pixels. The anomaly is propagating outward. Whatever the kid is dreaming, it's rewriting baseline reality in real time. This isn't a spike anymore. It's a goddamn cascade. Back inside the flat, the war had reached Kai's sacred wall of waifu posters. The glossy prints, once innocent 2D anime goddesses frozen in perfect airbrushed poses, were now flickering like malfunctioning TV screens. One moment they were flat paper, edges curling slightly from the humid earth smell filling the room. The next, they rippled and deepened into actual high-definition displays, the characters inside coming alive. A pink-haired, cat-eared heroine blinked shyly, tilting her head with a timid little smile, one hand raised in a hesitant wave as if she could see Kai snoring on the bed. Another silver-haired sword maiden leaned forward, lips moving in silent confusion, her pixel-perfect blush deepening as the universe itself seemed to shrug and say, "Why not?" The posters kept flipping back and forth, caught between dimensions, while the room's ambient light took on a soft, psilocybin haze, colors bleeding at the edges, reality not quite sure whether it was tripping or just having a very vivid nightmare. The universe, it seemed, had taken one look at Kai's subconscious Minecraft fever dream and decided to get absolutely blasted on whatever interdimensional equivalent of magic mushrooms it could find. It had no idea when everything went wrong, but it was too late to hit undo. Kai mumbled again, rolling onto his back so the growing dirt castle cradled him like a throne. Heh, add some fences. Make it a proper base. Maybe spawn a few villagers for the lols. A wooden fence post snapped into existence beside the bed, real oak, splintery, smelling of fresh sap, topped with a little vine that hadn't quite decided if it was pixelated or actual ivy yet. Null was still experimenting. Reality was still breaking, and somewhere in the digital void, the creepypasta entity that wore Kai's alias like a second skin was laughing its glitchy, zero-rune-eyed laugh, watching the continuum of existence bend and fray under the weight of one NEET's power nap. The cement under Agent Reyes's boots felt wrong in the most mundane way possible. Solid, cold, slightly gritty with that unmistakable texture of compressed black-dyed aggregate, exactly like the Minecraft blocks that had replaced half the alley moments earlier. She took one careful step back, eyes locked on the third-floor window where the dirt castle kept growing in lazy, impossible layers. The live feed from her drone still jittered with residual glitches, but the anomaly readings had flatlined into something far worse, a single, steady crimson bar that screamed critical mass. Then the air began to shimmer. Not just around her. The distortion rippled outward like heat haze on steroids, swallowing the entire apartment block in a single slow wave. Every brick, every window, every satellite dish on the roof blurred at the edges, as if the building itself had been dropped into a pool of warm water. Inside, the other residents, families, shift workers, the old woman on the ground floor who always left her telly too loud, remained untouched by the madness. Whether they were deep in ordinary sleep, shielded by whatever invisible hand Null had decided to flex tonight, or simply not permitted to perceive the show, Reyes couldn't tell. She was the only witness allowed ringside seats to the ultimate troll on reality. The shaking started low, a bass rumble that climbed through her bones like an overpressurized container, finally giving in to a military-grade sonic weapon. The ground trembled, windows rattled in their frames, street signs vibrated hard enough to blur. White lightning, sharp, branching, impossibly bright, crackled across the shimmer in jagged arcs, dancing between lampposts, leaping from one glitching cement block to the next. The cow behind her had already vanished somewhere safer. Even livestock apparently knew when to nope out. Reyes planted her feet wider, one hand gripping the recorder like a lifeline, the other pressed to her earpiece. "Director, evac protocols, now. The whole block is... The sound hit like the universe itself taking a single greedy inhale. Air rushed inward with violent force, sucking loose leaves, stray litter, and the last echoes of distant traffic straight toward the shimmering building. Then the implosion reversed. Everything that had been pulled in exploded outward again in a perfect, silent shockwave that knocked Reyes flat on her back against the new black cement. When the after images cleared from her eyes, the apartment block was gone. Just gone. A clean, rectangular scar in the night where 3 stories of brick and mortar had stood seconds earlier. In its place lay a haphazard pile of sleeping residents, still in their beds, still wrapped in duvets, still snoring peacefully, as if someone had simply lifted the entire building off them, like a child removing the roof from a dollhouse. They hadn't moved. They hadn't woken. Whatever Null had done, it had left the people behind and taken everything else. Reyes pushed herself up on shaking elbows, staring at the empty plot, the faint residual lightning still flickering across the open sky above it. Her voice cracked over the secure line, raw and urgent. "Director Tetsuo, Echo 7. The building is gone. Completely. Residents are intact but exposed on site. I need reconstruction assets, containment crews, memory scrubbers, anything. A miracle would be nice. The kid, he's not here anymore. He's taken the whole damn thing with him." Static hissed for half a second before the cold, precise voice answered from halfway across the world. "Stand by, Agent Reyes. Protocol Omega is now active. We are already moving." She stayed on her knees amid the black-dyed cement, recorder still rolling, the only living soul left awake to witness the aftershock of one ginger-haired gremlin's power nap. The first thing that hit Kai wasn't sight, it was the air. It slid down his throat like chilled champagne, too clean, too sweet, laced with something floral and impossible, like someone had bottled a meadow after a spring rain and pumped it straight into his lungs. His body twitched hard on the mattress, a full-body jerk that made his ginger hair flop across his face. Neat lungs, used to recycled monster fumes and cheese-puff dust, rebelled against the sudden oxygen overload. He coughed once, twice, eyes still glued shut, drool string still connecting his lip to the pillow that felt way too soft, too expensive, too not his. 5 more minutes, Ma. Servers still crashing. But the air wouldn't let him slip back under. It kept flooding in, rich and alive, making his head spin in the best, worst way possible. His fingers clenched on silk sheets. Actual silk, cool and heavy, and that was wrong enough to crack one green eye open. The ceiling above him glowed with soft blue neon rings set into dark metallic panels, pulsing gently like the heartbeat of some luxury starship. No cracked plaster, no water stains shaped like depressed anime faces, just flawless, futuristic elegance. He blinked hard, both eyes open now, and pushed himself up on elbows. The room unfolded around him like a fever dream screenshot from the most expensive sci-fi manhwa he'd ever pirated. Massive panoramic windows, angled and seamless, dominated 2 entire walls, framing a sunset that should not have been legally allowed to exist. A colossal red dwarf sun hung low on the horizon, painting the sky in molten pinks, deep crimsons, and bruised purples, while a smaller brown dwarf companion burned right beside it like a loyal shadow, the pair turning the clouds into liquid fire. Below them sprawled a city that looked like someone had let a cyberpunk artist loose with unlimited budget, soaring crystalline spires, floating platforms linked by glowing sky bridges, rivers of light traffic weaving between towers that reflected the dual suns in 1,000 impossible colors. The view stretched forever, alien yet weirdly, comfortingly human-compatible. Utopian. The kind of place protagonists got isekai'd into after getting truck-cooned. Kai's brain short-circuited. He sat bolt upright on the enormous bed, king-sized, low-slung, draped in layers of pristine white and soft grey linens that smelled like fresh laundry and starlight. A blue velvet sofa curved invitingly near a glass coffee table where a holographic galaxy projection floated lazily, spinning slow nebulae and distant stars. A tall floor lamp cast warm golden light from one side. Everything screamed money, taste, and you do not belong here, Gremlin. "What the actual fuck?" he whispered, voice hoarse from the clean air. He swung his legs off the bed, bare feet hitting cool, polished marble, and stood up on wobbly knees. The oxygen kept hitting him like espresso shots. His ginger hair stuck out in every direction, green eyes wide behind smudged glasses he somehow still had on. He patted himself down. Same hoodie, same joggers, same unwashed socks. Everything else was upgraded. The apartment building, His entire dingy block of flats had been quietly, surgically dismantled and remade, or so he thought. Every brick, every pipe, every stick of furniture from his old life had been converted by whatever glitchy Minecraft furniture mod sorcery Null had cooked up in the transition. The materials now formed the sleek metallic walls, the reinforced glass, the hidden storage compartments that secretly held an entire inventory of dirt blocks, black-dyed cement cubes, redstone torches, and enough Mr. Crayfish-style modular furniture pieces to rebuild a small nation. But Kai didn't know that yet. All he knew was that his sad little NEET cave had been kidnapped, renovated by a god-tier interior designer on cosmic steroids, and dropped into paradise. He stumbled to the nearest window, pressing both palms against the glass. It was warm from the dual suns. Outside, the air shimmered faintly with that same oxygen-rich haze, carrying the faint perfume of alien flowers he couldn't name. No traffic noise, no distant police sirens. Just the soft hum of a utopian world that felt like it had been waiting for him. "This isn't a dream," he muttered, pinching his own arm hard enough to wince. "Dreams don't smell like flowers and oxygen. Dreams don't come with two suns and a view that looks like the final level of a visual novel route I never unlocked." He spun slowly, taking in the holographic display still floating above the coffee table, its galaxy slowly rotating as if inviting him to poke it. The blue sofa looked like it had been designed for maximum comfort and minimum gremlin chaos. Even the bedside table held a small crystal glass of water that probably didn't come from a tap that tasted like rust and broken dreams. Kai ran both hands through his messy ginger hair, green eyes darting everywhere at once. A wild, bewildered grin started tugging at the corners of his mouth. The same gremlin grin he wore when a perfectly executed server raid came together. But this time, it was laced with pure, unfiltered panic and awe. "Okay, universe, you win. I have no idea what the hell just happened, but if this is the afterlife, the devs finally listened to my complaints. Or I got hit by a truck, or the mods finally figured out how to permaban me in real life, and this is the ban screen on hard mode." He laughed, short, sharp, half hysterical. He took a deep breath of that impossibly clean, flower-scented air and immediately regretted it when his lungs did another happy little twitch. The red dwarf sun dipped lower, bathing the futuristic bedroom in even richer golds and crimsons. The brown dwarf companion glowed like a second promise beside it. McCoy Davidson, formerly of a damp Yorkshire flat, now standing barefoot in a high-tech penthouse that belonged in every otaku's wildest power fantasy, stood there grinning like an idiot while his brain tried to reboot. "All right then," he said aloud to the empty, perfect room, voice cracking with equal parts terror and glee. New server, new rules. The utopian bedroom still hummed with that impossible perfection when the silent bleep cut through the quiet like a polite digital throat clearing. Kai had just pressed his forehead to the warm panoramic glass, green eyes drinking in the dual sunset skyline, red dwarf bleeding molten gold across crystalline spires, brown dwarf companion glowing like a second ember, when the sound registered. His shoulders tensed. He spun around, half expecting a holographic butler or a floating security drone to pop into existence. Instead, a delicate feminine voice filled the room, soft, almost musical, with the faintest mechanical edge that made it sound like velvet wrapped around circuitry. Alien syllables rolled out in perfect, poignant clarity. Lauf, era, moi, moa, eon. Kai blinked hard, ginger hair flopping into his face. Okay? Did I have too much monster and finally suffer the stroke I always joked about? Or is this the part where the truck-cun driver shows up with an apology letter? The voice didn't miss a beat. It repeated, exactly the same tone, delicate, mechanical, laced with something that felt like quiet urgency. La era, moi, moa, eon. But this time, The words weren't just sound. They sank straight past his ears and into his mind like warm ink spreading through water. Not language, not translation, just pure, crystalline feeling, delivered by whatever cosmic sugar daddy glitch Null had become during the isekai handoff. A rush of cold alarm, a sharp, unmistakable sense of wrongness, the mental equivalent of floodlights snapping on, and every security camera swiveling toward him at once. Intruder detected. You are not welcome here, alien. The feeling hit like a slap across the soul. This wasn't his flat. This wasn't even Earth anymore. He was standing barefoot in some stranger's bedroom, pristine, luxurious, clearly lived in by someone with taste and money and probably very sharp objects or very advanced security systems. The silk sheets, the floating galaxy hologram, the panoramic view of an impossible city, all of it screamed someone else's home. And that someone was about to come back and discover a ginger NEET gremlin had been dropped into their penthouse like a glitchy loot box. Kai's heart slammed into overdrive. Nope, 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 nope. Hard pass on the alien interloper special. I've seen enough Manhwa to know how this ends. Probes, experiments, or being turned into a cute pet. Not today, universe. He bolted. Socks skidding across the polished marble, he yanked open the first seamless metallic panel that looked even vaguely door-shaped. It hissed aside obediently, revealing a wide, softly lit corridor lined with more glowing blue accents and abstract art that probably cost more than his entire old life. Empty. Thank every mod in existence, the place was empty. No footsteps, no voices, no looming shadow of an angry homeowner. Luck? Providence? Null's final troll gift? He didn't care. He ran. Room after room blurred past in a frantic montage of futuristic opulence. A sprawling kitchen that looked like it could cook for a small army with zero effort. Countertops that shimmered with embedded holograms. Floating utensils hovering in neat racks. A library lounge with walls of crystalline data slabs and plush seating pods that adjusted shape as he sprinted by. Corridors branched off like a luxury maze, each one wider and more extravagant than the last. Vaulted ceilings with slow swirling star projections. Side chambers filled with what looked like meditation spheres and zero-grav lounges. Even a glass-walled atrium where alien flora glowed softly under artificial sunlight. The whole mansion, because, this was clearly a mansion, not a flat, felt endless, a labyrinth of wealth and alien elegance designed for beings who probably didn't expect uninvited Yorkshire gremlins. His breath came in ragged gasps, the oxygen-rich air still making his head spin even as panic fueled every step. Come on, exit sign, emergency stairwell, anything. I just wanted to troll a Minecraft server, not star in my own wrongfully accused in paradise arc. Finally, after what felt like a full dungeon crawl, he burst into a vast, open-plan living area, soaring ceilings, a sunken conversation pit with modular sofas that looked like clouds given form, a central holographic fireplace flickering with simulated flames that smelled faintly of exotic spices. And there, at the far end, a massive automatic door, floor-to-ceiling metallic panels etched with elegant alien glyphs, promising freedom and the outside world beyond. Kai didn't slow down. Adrenaline screaming, he jolted straight for it like a ginger missile. Thunk! Face met door at full sprint. The automatic panel didn't even twitch, locked tighter than a mod's banhammer. Pain exploded across his forehead, nose, and both cheeks in one glorious cartoonish smack. He rebounded backward, arms windmilling, and landed flat on his back on the plush rug with a wheezing oof. Stars, not the ones outside, danced behind his eyelids. He lay there for a second, ginger hair splayed, green eyes watering, one hand gingerly prodding the fresh bump already forming on his forehead. Ow. 10 out of 10, universe. Really nailed the dramatic escape attempt. The mansion remained eerily silent around him, the jewel suns outside painting the locked door in fiery pinks and golds. Kai groaned, pushing himself up on elbows, already plotting his next desperate move in this suddenly very hostile paradise. The living room stretched out around him like something ripped straight from a luxury catalogue for the ultra-rich of another world. Vaulted ceilings that caught the fiery glow of the twin suns, casting long ribbons of crimson and molten gold across the sunken conversation pit. Plush modular sofas in deep charcoal and cream curved around a low table that shimmered with faint internal lighting, while the massive metallic door at the far end stood impassive, its surface etched with elegant alien glyphs that caught the light like brushed steel. The air still hummed with that impossible floral sweetness, thick enough to make his head swim every time he breathed too deep. Kai lay flat on his back for another heartbeat, the plush rug soft beneath him, forehead throbbing in time with his racing pulse. He groaned, pushing himself up slowly and rubbing the fresh bump with the heel of his hand. Man, this is an isekai experience, right? Then where are my powers? His voice came out rough, half laughing, half terrified, the words tasting real in a way that made his stomach twist. He scrambled to his feet, socks sliding on the polished floor, and struck a ridiculous superhero pose, knees bent, one arm thrust dramatically forward, the other cocked like he was about to shoot lasers. Let's see here. Teleport! Nothing. The air didn't ripple, the door didn't whoosh open, the mansion remained stubbornly, oppressively quiet, except for the soft hum of whatever unseen systems kept the lights glowing. Kai deflated a little, cheeks burning. Okay. He stepped forward anyway, shoulders squared, and tried to walk straight through the metal panel like it was mist. Phase through! His already tender forehead met solid, unyielding metal with a dull thunk. Pain flared hot and immediate. Ouch! Definitely not a dream. This actually still hurts. He staggered back, pressing both palms to his face, eyes watering. The reality of it all crashed down harder now. No fading edges, no sudden wake-up in his old bed. This was real. He was really here, trapped in someone else's impossibly perfect home on a world with two suns. Okay, think, Kai, think. He planted his feet, arms crossed tight over his chest in a tense thinking pose, brow furrowed so hard it pulled at the fresh bruise. The jewel light from outside painted everything in dramatic oranges and deep purples, making the sleek walls look almost alive. Stats open? He jabbed a finger at the empty air like he was summoning a menu from thin air. Nothing happened. Damn it. Interface reveal! Still nothing. Just the soft glow of the room and the distant alien skyline beyond the windows. His heart hammered louder. System open! The words left his mouth, and the air in front of him flickered. A holographic grid materialized with a soft electronic chime, its edges glitching faintly like old video static. The interface looked strangely retro, blocky pixel art floating in crisp 3D holographic, clashing hard against the futuristic luxury around it. A little pixelated backpack icon glowed front and center with the word inventory beneath it. Next to it sat a cogwheel labeled Options, a simple map grid marked Minimap, a wrench and gear symbol for mod settings, another for mods installed, and a crafting bench icon simply labeled Crafting. Kai's eyes widened, breath catching. Wait, mod settings? He muttered under his breath, the words barely audible. He stared, still scared, but feeling the tiniest spark of something like confirmation settle in his chest. This was isekai nonsense, sure, but at least it was his brand of nonsense. He reached out tentatively and tapped the backpack icon. The inventory grid expanded in front of him, nearly full, row after row of neatly stacked items rendered in that same crisp pixel style, but feeling utterly solid in the holographic display. Bricks, dirt, wood planks, stone and cement blocks, scrap metal twisted into ingot shapes, plastics in various colors, pieces of furniture, Cabinets, pipes, shelving units, even chunks of what looked like old laminate flooring and wiring. Some stacks climbed ridiculously high, 700, 800, no upper limit in sight. It all felt familiar, like the bones of the building he used to live in, but he didn't let his mind chase that thought too far. Not yet. "This is taking on a life of its own," he said quietly to the empty room, voice steadier now. "Some of this stuff I recognize, but the rest looks like the building blocks for a whole modern apartment. At least I've got materials to work with." He was still scared, heart thumping, palms clammy, but the fear had company now, a fragile thread of hope. He tapped the crafting icon next. No crafting table needed. The menu simply unfolded in mid-air, a clean grid waiting for ingredients. His eyes flicked to the locked door. Right, that thing's not budging without help. He dragged a stack of scrap metal into the recipe slot, treating it like iron ingots on instinct, and watched as the system accepted it. A crude pickaxe took shape in the output, handle wrapped in reinforced plastic, head forged from compacted scrap, edges jagged but serviceable. Kai reached out and the finished tool materialized in his grip, real, heavy, cool metal against his palm. He hefted it once, testing the weight, a small, determined grin breaking through the panic. "All right," he whispered, turning back toward the stubborn metallic door. "Let's see if this works." The dual suns continued their slow descent outside, painting the luxurious living room in deepening shades of fire and shadow, while the holographic interface hovered patiently at his side, like a promise of more to come. The pickaxe felt solid and reassuring in Kai's grip, scrap metal head glinting under the dual sunset light filtering through the vast living room windows. No more overthinking, no more dramatic poses. He was done being polite to a door that clearly didn't care about his existential crisis. He reared back and swung with everything he had. Thunk! The impact reverberated up his arms, metal biting metal with a dull, real-world clang that made his teeth rattle. The door barely flinched, just a shallow dent the size of a coin. Bong! He swung again, harder, putting his shoulder into it. The sound rang out like a cracked bell, echoing through the empty mansion. Trang! A third strike, wild and desperate. Tiny sparks flew, but the door held firm, only a few more pathetic scratches marring its flawless surface. Kai hitched a sharp breath, chest heaving, the floral-scented air suddenly tasting sour with panic. Wait, Minecraft powers but real collision physics? And what in all hell is this door made of? Titanium? The words had barely left his mouth when the mansion answered. Alarms erupted everywhere at once, sharp, layered tones that drilled straight into his skull, pulsing red emergency lighting sweeping across the walls and ceiling like blood and water. The delicate feminine AI voice returned, now amplified and urgent, blasting from hidden speakers in every direction. Exxon, Vorion, Exxon, Volarth, Exxon, Arius. The feeling slammed into his mind again, crystal clear and ice cold. Intruder, containment protocol engaged. You are in deep shit. Kai's spine turned to ice. Oh no, oh no, no, no. A low mechanical hiss sounded directly behind him, like pressurized seals releasing. He whipped around, heart in his throat. Eep! It was exactly what he'd feared. A sleek, floating sentinel drone, half again as tall as he was, matte black chassis humming with restrained energy. Multiple glowing sensor arrays swiveled toward him like predatory eyes, articulated limbs unfolding with clinical precision, each tipped with what looked uncomfortably like restraint fields or stun emitters. It hovered there, silent and judgmental, blocking the corridor he'd sprinted down minutes earlier. Kai spun back toward the door, voice cracking into a full-on desperate wail. Just open! I'm not a thief! This is a misunderstanding! The words tumbled out, wet and frantic, tears of pure panic stinging the corners of his green eyes. He slammed the pickaxe against the door one last time for good measure, the clang swallowed by the wailing alarms. Hopelessness clawed at him. This wasn't a game. This was real, and he was about to get zapped or cuffed or worse by an alien security system in someone else's mansion. Then the holographic interface flickered back into existence, right in front of his face, calm and glitching softly amid the chaos. A single prompt floated in crisp, blocky text. Activate Minecraft Physics Aura. Kai didn't hesitate. Yes! Damn it! Yes! Turn on Minecraft Aura, damn it! He shrieked, voice raw. The response was instant. A vivid green glow erupted around him, wrapping his body in a shimmering aura that made the air itself feel lighter, more editable. His vision shifted. Dark, clean lines suddenly overlaid everything solid. Perfect 1 cubic meter voxel grids snapping into place around every surface like an invisible wireframe. The floor beneath his socks became a neat grid of outlined blocks. The walls, the furniture, the ceiling, all of it reduced to clean polygonal boundaries. And the door in front of him? It lit up crystal clear. Roughly 2.5 blocks tall, 3 blocks wide, its metallic structure now rendered in stark, editable voxels. He didn't waste a heartbeat. He slammed the pickaxe forward again. This time there was no metallic clang. Instead, the familiar crisp tink-tink-tink of a Minecraft pickaxe striking stone filled the air, real, layered, echoing like the game had leaked straight into reality. Dark cracks spider-webbed across the door's surface instantly, blocky damaged textures blooming in perfect squares where the metal had been. The lower half gave way with a soft digital pop, disintegrating into a hovering, spinning pile of scrap metal units. 17 neat stacks shimmering in midair, ready to be claimed. Kai didn't question it. He snatched the materials with a frantic grab, his inventory absorbing them instantly, and dropped into a low crouch. Belly to the floor, he slid forward like a panicked otter, squeezing through the newly created square opening at the base of the door. The sentinel behind him let out a confused electronic chirp, its sensors sweeping the empty space where he'd been standing a second earlier, but he was already gone. Fresh air, still impossibly clean and flower-sweet, hit him like a wave as he tumbled out onto a wide, elegant walkway. He was in a residential district, the kind of place that belonged on the cover of an alien utopia brochure. Sleek, low-slung mansions with flowing organic architecture lined curving streets paved in that same glowing material, each home wrapped in lush alien gardens bursting with bioluminescent flowers that pulsed softly in the deepening twilight of the twin suns. Hover vehicles drifted lazily in the distance, and faint melodic chimes drifted on the breeze from somewhere deeper in the neighborhood. No one in sight. Thank every god in every universe. But the alarms from the mansion were still wailing behind him, probably alerting the entire block. Kai scrambled to his feet, green aura still faintly glowing around him, and bolted. He ducked behind a sculpted hedge that smelled like vanilla and ozone, heart-hammering, then broke into a flat-out region past the next few houses. Low walls, glowing pathways, perfectly manicured lawns that looked like they'd never seen a single weed. His socks slapped against the paving, breath ragged, the oxygen-rich air making his lungs burn in the best and worst way. The residential zone gave way to open fields beyond the last row of homes, rolling grasslands dotted with strange, feathery trees that swayed gently in the evening wind. He didn't stop. Legs pumping, he raced straight for the distant forest line he'd glimpsed through the mansion windows earlier, a thick, shadowy tree line of towering alien woods, their canopies glowing faintly with internal bioluminescence under the red and brown dwarf sunset. The green aura flickered around him like a protective second skin as he left the last house behind, the manicured perfection fading into wild, open terrain. Behind him, the alarms continued to wail, but the mansion and its confused sentinel grew smaller with every desperate stride. Ahead, the forest promised cover, deep, dark, and full of unknowns. Kai kept running, the dual suns dipping lower, painting the world in fiery farewell as he plunged toward whatever came next.